You would think, as such a huge horror and Halloween fan that I am, that fall is going to be my favorite time of year, but summer for sure gives fall a run for its money. Think about it. Some of the best horror movies take place during the summer months. Summer is such a sweet and innocent time of year. I think about like coming of age, summer vacations, school for kids. So of course, when horror gets its hands on something sweet and innocent, it is a really fun result. I asked my subscribers to share some of their favorite horror movies that take place during the summer months, and I use these as inspiration to create a summer bucket list of over 20 ideas, ways for you to get more out of these films. Starting off here with summer camp slashers, which you all love, especially Summer of '84, and of course, Friday the 13th. I have to admit, I have not seen Summer of '84, but because of so many of you really like singing its praises, it's 1000% gonna be watched by me this summer. So okay, how do you bring this summer camp vibe into your kitchen? Okay, so I have a few ideas here. So my first one here is a bloody s'mores. Okay, gruesome, creepy. S'mores scream summer to me, of course, and I think if you add a little bit of that red food coloring into the mix, oh my God, that is gonna be very creepy, very unsettling. And then do the same thing to bloody popcorn. So this is probably just adding in some red food coloring into white chocolate, melting that, drizzling it over popcorn. Literally so yummy. And if you're feeling really fun and fancy and you have these available to you somehow, definitely drop in some candy corn if you're a fan of that. We all know I love me some candy corn. And then, okay, when I found these on Pinterest, when I was searching, I almost I don't know, upchucked a little bit. My stomach was unsettled for sure, and maybe that's the whole point. Finger hot dogs. If you end up making these this summer, please message me, share them with me on Instagram because I will need the laugh. When it comes to reading and gaming, getting in all of those summer camp horror vibes, I have a few suggestions for you. Some things on this list I will be recommending, but then some things I will be suggesting to you and myself that I've never done before. So it's kind of like a hybrid of recommendations, but also things I want to do, goal setting. I highly, highly recommend that if you are a gamer, you probably have already played this game, but if you haven't, you gotta get to the quarry. It is so well done. The acting, you will see some familiar faces. I think David Arquette is in there. Brenda Song, just some other faces where I don't know their names necessarily, but they are pretty famous people. The atmosphere is 10 out of 10. It takes place at a summer camp. All the kids have gone, they've left, and the camp counselors, who have their own baggage, their own drama with each other, they are staying there because they kind of are stranded a bit. So you're exploring different places. There's some cutscenes. There's a tarot magical element to this. It is so fun, so creepy, but it isn't a lot of combat if you're concerned about that. It kind of is similar to other games in the genre. If you're thinking about, what's that one? It might actually be made by the same people who created Until Dawn, but if not, it is very similar in its mechanics. And I have an unpopular book recommendation here, but you have to give it a shot because the people who love The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, they love it. But this one takes all of your favorite horror tropes, all of the, of course, The Final Girl, right? But all the best, most iconic horror movies that The Final Girl is featured in, many of which are summer camp settings, and you kind of follow them after the trauma, after all of these events. What would happen if you actually had all of these most iconic final girls in a therapy session? I've read this book twice. I always look at it on my bookshelf and I'm I want to reread you. Every summer I get this desire to read it because for the first time I ever did read this, it was during this summer, and it gives summer vibes. So you get that vibe, right? If you're looking to read a book that has a summer camp setting, this one will maybe work for you, but you never know until you find out, right? And speaking of camp, if you're trying to get more into the summer horror camp vibes, think about camping. Maybe you're more of a homebody, then set up camp, a little fort yourself in your living room. Maybe do it in your backyard. Maybe go to a park that's nearby you. And what could be really cute is if you have your own little campfire. I have one on my patio that's really small, uses some oil. It's very safe and compact. Or maybe even an ambiance on your TV, put up a little campfire there and with somebody else or even on your own, share scary stories. And this would be really fun to do with somebody else. Just go to the No Sleep Reddit thread find some really creepy ones or even like a creepy pasta and, turn off the lights and light a candle, whatever, and just have some fun scaring each other. If you're in more of a creating mood, there are tons of coloring pages if you want something a little bit more brain off as an activity to do. And there's also tons of diamond paintings as well that have some of your favorite summer camp slashers. And there's even some that have like little coasters. Those I really love because they're less of a commitment, because looks are deceiving. Diamond paintings take so much time to put together. Definitely look out for those if you want something that is very relaxing, very repetitive, soothing. You could be listening to an audiobook at the same time or watching something on the TV, maybe watching all of the Friday the 13th movies. Do that. Let me know what you think about that and tell me your favorites. My last little crafty idea here is to make friendship bracelets, which to me scream summer camp vibes for sure. You can get different kind of beads, whether they're more like Halloween related or maybe like a red and black. That's very like slasher to me. And then maybe, some little letters spell out run, hide. Like you could have a lot of fun with this for yourself, for a friend, whoever. I was so happy to see that you all love The Lost Boys as much as I do. It is 100% iconic summer horror. And maybe I love it so much because it was filmed in Santa Cruz, which is what they refer to as Santa Carla, which is very close to me. I grew up going there to the boardwalk specifically, and I've actually filmed a video where I take you to all of the locations, especially like rare ones that don't get a lot of coverage. That's really fun. But I think it has to do with the fact that this movie is so good. If you want to bring in some Lost Boys vibes into your kitchen, I do have a few ideas for this one as well. One of my favorites is actually super simple, and this is a vampire mimosa. All this requires is using like a pomegranate cranberry juice instead of the, typical orange juice. And I found this cherry chamomile calmer, which is a lovely shade of red. And for either of these drinks, drop in a little plastic vampire fang. Like, come on, you for sure, somewhere in your Halloween bins, you have one of these plastic vampire fangs. And adding in one of those bad boys is probably the easiest way to vampify anything you're drinking. So you maybe heard that there's actually a sequel to The Lost Boys. I've never seen it. And if you have, let me know what you think about it. But there actually is a sequel I fully stand by that's actually in graphic novel format. I've only read the first one, but this summer I need to get to the rest. It is the sequel that this franchise deserves. It takes us back to Santa Carla. It follows our same beloved characters. It adds in new people as well. Well, I wouldn't exactly call them people, but there's a new cast of characters. It's a really good time. I highly recommend it. And for summer travel with Lost Boys vibes, I mean, if you can, definitely hit up Santa Cruz, California. There is a time of year every year in late to mid-June, I think, they have the showing of The Lost Boys on the beach. Every time I see that movie, which I've gone for several years since I was young, like I'm just in awe because you're watching it on this like big blow up screen and you see the whole like panoramic drone-esque shot of the boardwalk on the screen, and then I just turn my head and it's like right there next to me. But if you're nowhere near Santa Carla, then definitely hit up any kind of boardwalk, even like an amusement park, a fair, when you're just, meandering around, causing mischief, getting into some shenanigans. That is so giving Lost Boys. For crafts and creativity, I think that giving a 500-piece puzzle a shot could be a really fun time. It will probably take you the entire summer if you're a little slowpoke like myself, but it's fun. Inaugurate the beginning of your puzzle journey by ordering some Chinese food, maybe opening up a bottle of blood red wine. I also came across something really cool I was inspired by when I was at the mall this week. So there's this store that's dedicated just to wooden puzzles, and I've only tried one. It was kind of a fail, but I'm gonna chalk that up to poor production quality. Anywho, I saw one there that was in the shape of a carousel. It lit up, it had music, it moved. I was like, whoa, definitely not for me right now where I'm at in my wooden puzzle skills. But if you are ready to take on something like that, it made me think immediately of The Lost Boys, the iconic scene where we are first introduced to the Lost Boys, David and his crew, and they're on the, I always get the name mixed up, but it's like the Ayuf. Carousel, it's still there, and it's probably one of the oldest in all of the United States. You could also bust out your button or pin collection, channel your inner California surfer vampire self, and just start, putting them on a denim jacket of yours. I have tons of buttons and pins that really need to see the light of day more. Yes, that was a vampire pun. This next favorite summer horror movie of yours, I could have seen coming a mile away, and that is Jaws. The movie that single-handedly rewired my brain and made me very, very afraid to even be on the deep end of the pool. A few summers ago, I did share my recipe for Blood in the Water, which is a cocktail that I did not make up. This recipe is everywhere online, and my rendition I'll link down below. It is so fun. And just like with the little vampire fangs, all you need is one little gummy shark to really jazz up any drink. Like at the very least, get yourself some gummy sharks. I don't have any ideas here for reading or gaming when it comes to giving you some Jaws vibes in these categories, but one thing that you could watch that really blew my mind is the documentary Sharksploitation, which is only available through Shudder. So that's kind of a bummer that it's only through that platform. But I think it's worth it if you can maybe subscribe for a month, or I don't know, maybe see it with a friend if they already have a subscription too. I think it will really change your mind about the whole Shark Week situation here and just the genre of sharksploitation. If you're a fan of horror documentaries, anything that kind of dives into the history of the genre, and you do like shark movies, I really do insist that this is a must. How do we bring Jaws vibes into travel? Well, of course, you can go to a beach. Maybe you'll have a shark sighting. Let's hope not. There's also the aquarium, or even the pool. Get yourself a little shark floaty, and that is for sure a Jaws vibe. If you're feeling crafty and you're in a creating mood, one really fun summer-long project is going to be to try out crochet if you've never done it before. There is a Woobles kit that is in the shape of a little shark, so you can make yourself a little shark plushie. It is called Tank the Shark. It is so cute. I tried my hand at it, and I started a little later than I wanted to, so it did kind of bleed into the fall months, even into winter. It was a struggle for me, even though these little packages, these kits, are marketed as being very beginner friendly. I must be before beginner, whatever that is. I'm just, my brain and crochet, there's a journey there that I'm still working through, because I want to be a crocheter so badly. It doesn't come easy or natural to me. Like all things, it's a skill, and I'm still going for it, but I do think that for most people, I think it might be a little easier. Another fun little Jaws activity to do here is literally using any kind of mold to create anything. Literally anything. So think about it here. There are some molds online that will let you create a little shark bath bomb. How cute is that? It's just swimming in your bath with you. Or maybe there's a way you can kind of transform them into shower steamers, because I'm not a big fan of baths. But you could also use different kind of molds to create maybe chocolate or candy. You could add those into any kind of popcorn or trail mix that you're eating, or just enjoy them on top of an ice cream. Maybe you could make them sharks that, are made from yogurt. You could add that on top of fruit, or honestly, white chocolate would be so good with strawberries. Okay, so good. Getting hungry here. And then you could obviously use shark molds that are for resin, and you can make yourself some shark earrings, or maybe even a keychain. Another favorite of yours is going to be Midsummer, which, oh my God, I watched this movie for the first time last spring. And yeah, it definitely left a really huge impact on me, very similarly to Jaws. I mean, it wasn't as formative as Jaws was for me, since I saw that movie at a very young age, probably too young of an age. I can see why Midsummer is so beloved, because the discomfort you feel from that, the contrast between the summer and the florals and, this beautiful Swedish countryside, and then you have the darkness that lives within our main character, I forgot her name, and the darkness that exists within that cult. Like, daylight horror is in its own category because of how unsuspecting the horror elements are in a place that's so bright and sunny. So how do we bring these midsummer vibes into our hobby lives? Okay, so starting off with the kitchen, I have one idea here, and I found a recipe for the May Queen lemonade, which sounds so refreshing, so delicious. There's vodka, 2 honey vanilla chamomile tea bags, and then a little bit of light lemonade. Check out your grocery store. My local ones sell edible flowers in the herb section. So adding that on top of your drink, and gosh, that's just gonna be so freaking cute. It will be weird when you think about the movie here, but my other kitchen suggestion here is to make Swedish meat pies. Some ideas for you to get to if you're in a reading mood: try out The Lost Garden. This book came out last year. In the synopsis, it did say it was similar, had some similar themes, tone to Midsummer, and I do have to agree. I mean, it's not super similar in the sense that, like, I don't remember anything cult-like happening in this book. It's pretty chunky, and it is a fever dream though. So if you found that this really like kind of hallucinogenic experience of Midsummer, you enjoyed that experience, then I think Lost in the Garden will give you a little taste of that. As well as the ending with this book. No spoilers obviously, but the ending made me feel emotions that I similarly felt at the end of Midsummer. So in that sense, these books are really good companions, or I mean, the book and the movie. My travel ideas here could be, I mean, anything that has to do with flowers, right? Picking some flowers, going out in nature. One of my favorite things to do in summer is to picnic, and I have in my area a rose garden. So maybe you could find somewhere really beautiful, filled with lots of florals, just picnic, be around flowers, maybe even visit a farmer's market, purchase some local wildflowers. So then when we get to crafting and creating, we could use those flowers to create things like a flower crown or even just like a bouquet. The art of making a flower arrangement is its own thing. Like, people take classes and they're trained, they're like professionals. I would never call myself anybody who's good at this, but there's something about creating a bouquet that is so lovely because you're thinking about, you know, just the endless possibilities. There's no one way to make a beautiful flower bouquet. And another idea I have here for summer that has major midsummer vibes actually came across to me on a sponsored Instagram ad. For once, those are actually useful for me. So A24 actually sells this like needle felted May Queen doll, and immediately, like, I mean, it was actually kind of creepy. I was talking about creating my first needle felt, and then the next thing you know, I get this sold to me on my Instagram story. I'm like, okay, this is creepy. The phones hear everything. And so I was already in the mode of like, ooh, like needle felting. This is awesome. It's actually one craft and hobby that is pretty intuitive for me. So I would like to try my hand this summer or some summer in the future where I try to recreate this little needle felt doll. It's going to be incredibly ambitious. And of course I could just, you know, buy this on my own, but I want the journey. I want the experience. There's something about needle felting that is incredibly repetitive, but also very, very satisfying. If you've ever done it, I think you know the joy, the catharsis that is stabbing fabric with a needle a million times until it gets the shape that you want. This last one here isn't necessarily a huge favorite, but I did appreciate that one of my subscribers mentioned that they love Willow Creek, which is a found footage movie that it's based off of, like this couple and they find themselves on the hunt for Bigfoot, or maybe it's the other way. Because Bigfoot sightings often take place in the forest, I then think summer, and then now I associate summer with Bigfoot, and then also you have the Loch Ness Monster, which obviously is in a loch where there's water, so it's like very summery to me. So we can have a little fun honoring our favorite cryptids with our hobbies this summer. And if we're thinking about the kitchen here, these Bigfoot bars delight me to no end. I mean, look at the little toes, they're so cute. And I'm building up my cooking skills, and this one seems like it'll be very beginner friendly. As well as this next one, which actually really cracks me up. It is Loch Ness Monster bagels, and you are like tearing up bagels, and you could put like anything inside of them, but you're tearing them up in a way where it kind of creates Nessie, and it's just like a fun little like wave hump situation. I think it's so cute. It could be fun with kids, but like I am a big kid and I would find this endlessly fun to do in the morning. Something that is not kid friendly is gonna be my 2 Bigfoot book recommendations. The first one you've probably heard of, but I have to just make sure I cover my bases here. And that book is Devolution, which very similar to the Willow Creek film. This one is found footage, or I guess more so, I'd probably say epistolary, because it's made up of, actually no, I take that back. Maybe I'll make up my mind one of these days, or you can tell me down below in the comments, what do you think? Would you classify Devolution as being found footage? Because I know there's letters, but there's also interviews and there's also like audio recordings. So I'll go with epistolary found footage. So yeah, I think it's like the perfect companion to Willow Creek because it takes place in the wilderness and there is that Bigfoot element and there are people who are kind of creating this oasis, this very like environmentally friendly community, and things go wrong. A more deeper cut of a recommendation here is going to be the Shadow of Sasquatch series, which is something that is available on Kindle Unlimited if you have a subscription for that. But it is really good, like very well written. And then there's the prequel that happens where you're like in the Arctic. No, you're in Russia. I really appreciate this book because it has a strong female character. It is written by a woman. So check out the Shadow of Sasquatch if you're in the mood for a very fast-paced, quick Bigfoot read. I think there are actually like maps you can check to see if there's like a Sasquatch sighting somewhere. So definitely check that out if you're like, you know, traveling around, because maybe you could run into him or her, them, who knows? Or you can kind of do the other way around. You could find where there have been Bigfoot sightings, and then maybe you can do like a little hike during the day or maybe at night if you're feeling very, I don't know, dangerous. That probably is not a good idea to go hiking at night. That sounds so fun. Like get in your steps while you're also cryptid hunting, maybe like, I don't know, like record yourself, maybe, you know, video, audio, whatever, write it down in like a little book, bring a flashlight, bring some friends. Please don't go alone. Go at night if you're feeling brave. But yeah, go cryptid hunting. That sounds so fun. It obviously doesn't have to be Bigfoot who you're hunting for. That's just like the one like summer related cryptid that pops into my head. But think about who or what is local to you and see if you can kind of go out, get some footage, and meet your new friend. There are endless opportunities to craft and create things inspired by your favorite summery cryptids, one of which I did fairly recently with some leftover polymer clay. I was so proud of my creation. My little Mothman is so adorable, and recently I learned what Mod Podge is, and so I'm gonna like seal it with this acrylic sealer, slap on the back a little magnet, and it'll be perfect on my fridge. I've also been thinking about dabbling in watercolor recently. It sounds very relaxing and like you don't really mess up. You just kind of go with the flow, very Bob Ross. And I found some inspiration photos of art people have created with Nessie and in a watercolor format. I think because the Loch Ness Monster's shape is so fluid and it's very long and curvy, it's not really angular, I think it would be the perfect muse for starting watercolor for the first time. I'm a huge fan of like reusing my craft supplies in new ways, reimagining how I could use my scraps around my home. So like I could see myself cleaning out that jar of tomato sauce and using it to create like a little cryptid terrarium. This could be really fun, creating a miniature ecosystem for any cryptid, whether it's Nessie, it's the Jersey Devil, it is Bigfoot. I think that'd be really, really fun. And you could also do this with more like an open terrarium or like a fairy garden, but make it like a cryptid garden. Hobby inspo is literally everywhere. It's even lurking in your favorite summer horror movies. So hopefully you were able to find some fun ideas to do this Summerween to bring in those spooky vibes. I obviously can't think of everything here, so let me know, do you have any ideas that I haven't thought of, or as I was sharing these, something came to mind for you that fits any of these movies? Please let us know down below in the comments. We'll all be checking that here. And thanks so much for being here. I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.